Welcome, come on in, come in, everybody join us. We are starting our Wednesday evening sacred gathering based on Miracles with a Twist. Someone asked me recently, why do we call it a sacred gathering? What's different and why we have a twist is that we're not a reading group, we're not just a discussion group. We consider this our sacred time together, what some people might call their Sunday service on Thursday is our time together to be in prayer, to be in the contemplation of the ways in which A Course in Miracles moves us into a way of being, into a way of living our life. And so we begin with a call to service, and the call to service is the blessing of the bells. We open with a song and a prayer. All of that is part of what we consider a sacred service. And then we get into the discussion. And so we hope that you all join us with that idea that this is our sacred time together. Our Thursday is like a Sunday. It is our sacred time together. And so we begin.
can breathe. I am healed. I am free. 'Cause you are strong. You are sure. You are light. You endure. You are good. Always true. You are light, breaking through. You are here. You are love. You are grace. You
Let's raise our voices and sing together. Here's my life. So I'll take a few moments in silence with your hand on your heart. Take a nice deep breath and feel your heartbeat. Giving thanks for this opportunity to be together this evening. To be joined by our willingness to listen to the voice of Spirit. To be connected as kindred spirits, as mighty companions on this path. Let us imagine that this evening we are free from fear, from doubt, free from the day, free from concerns. Just be present in this moment. Recognizing that we are connected one to another. As we raise our voices to sing, we may not be able to hear those of you who are not in this space, but we know that you are a part of this church, this ashram, this temple, this holy, sacred place, and that we are on this sacred journey together. For that we give thanks. Amen, Amin, Aho, Ashe. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy Holy Thursday. So, today, I had this conversation just a few hours ago about how people categorize and think about what A Course in Miracles is in comparison to other things. And we've heard it called the Christian Vedanta, the second coming of Christ, and the shifting of the mind as opposed to coming in the physical body. And then today, someone told me that it seemed very much to them like a modern interpretation of the Gnostic Gospels. And so I thought I would talk about that for just a minute and just sort of see where A Course in Miracles fits in. So the Gnostic Gospels, if you're not familiar with it, are 52 essays that were found in 1945, modern time. They were found in Egypt in a town called Nag Hammadi. And it's called the Nag Hammadi Library. The 52 texts were in a container, I guess clay. I don't know how long ago it was in there, but it was texts that were saved after the Second Council of Rome made a decision as to what would be considered an appropriate series of Gospels for what is called the New Testament, for Christian scripture. So there was a certain amount of stuff that was not accepted. It was rejected, and somehow someone had the wherewithal to save that stuff. So it was saved, it was put in these canisters, and it was buried in Egypt. And 1945, this farmer comes along, and he's digging, and he finds this stuff. And if you want to look for it, it's called Nag Hammadi Library, and it's the Gnostic Gospels. And why is it called Gnostic? Because it is considered to be very esoteric, not what would fall in line with what the church fathers at that time thought was appropriate for inclusion in the scriptures, and what would be the conclusion of the Bible, what's called the Bible. And interestingly enough, when you look at that stuff, it is more Course in Miracle-ish than Christian scripture-ish, because of the fact that it's not tied down to what we might consider to be Christian doctrine. So we have three that I can think of off the top of my head is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of St. Philip, and the Gospel of St. Thomas. And all of those are really fascinating reads if you get a hold of them. So I copied a quote from one from St. Thomas, and I thought, well, this sort of tells us how it's similar to A Course in Miracles. So here's a quote. It says, "If you bring forth that which is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." So how is that like A Course in Miracles? Well, A Course in Miracles is always telling us that what is within us is one of two aspects of perception. It is either the vision of love, Christ vision, Shiva vision, Buddha vision, however you want to say it's the vision of love, or it's the vision of judgment that comes from the ego. So it could be judgment, fear, whatever series of emotions we can fall under the ego, which is fear, call for love, cry for love, subconscious programming, however you think of it. It's not the vision of love. It's not that which the Holy Spirit would have us focus upon. So when we are looking at the ways in which we can start deconstructing all our learning, all our traumas, all our emotion-based reactivity, we can do that by enhancing our spiritual practices and doing our spiritual practices that remind us that the way we see the world is our choice. The way we interpret the world is our choice. Doesn't mean that the world is going to change. We say this all the time. What is going on and what is occurring in the world as a interactive playground is not the real reality world beyond consciousness that we are striving to connect with. So as long as we're focusing on that, we tend to have a lot of emotional reactivity to it. So what St. Thomas is saying is to bring that which is within you for it to save you, because that which is within you that's very deep, which is the truth of who you are, is that part of you that can look out into the world with eyes of love and a willingness to change our consciousness. So we're not changing the world, we're changing our hearts. We're not changing what's going on out there as much as we would like to do our best to interact and to do the types of things that might affect some kind of a change somewhere, somehow. But ultimately, what we're really looking to do is to shift our consciousness so that we don't add to that which is already in decline, or already negative, or already hurtful. So our task is to bring forth that which is within us so it can save us. So that which is within us is the truth of who we are, which is the capacity to be loving, kind, caring, forgiving, and to function from that place. So from there, we're going to look at two lessons today to see if we can sort of reinforce this idea. So one of the lessons that we're going to be looking at today, I was going to do this whole thing of like lesson gems, how I've been doing chapter gems and just picking out different things. And so I was going to do all the lessons that came up this week since we last met. And I kept getting sort of stuck on 155. And I was like, but I want to do like a whole bunch of these lessons. And it reminded me of a couple weeks ago when my car broke down. I was in a post office and I came out, my car wouldn't start. And I kept putting it in drive and putting it in drive and it wouldn't go. And no matter what I did, because I'm not a mechanic, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I couldn't get my car to go. So I had to call out for help, right? I had to call AAA. And it's kind of like this lesson. I wanted to do all kinds of things, but Spirit was like, nope, you can put it in drive, but you're not going anywhere. You're sticking right here with this lesson, and this is what we're going to focus on. So, lesson 155, if you have the book, 155 says, I will step back and let him lead the way. This is a lesson of willingness and surrender. This is one of those lessons where we have to look at that part of us that's very much the ego-driven self that wants to be in control, that doesn't want to be controlled, that doesn't want to be told what to do. Of course, never tells us what to do. It's just reminding us that that which is within us has the capacity to be in complete connection with Spirit. When you're in connection with Spirit, you're more in a mystic place. You're more in that place of surrender and trust that whatever is coming through you is what has to go out into the world. You know, it's just like when we pray and we imagine that the light is coming in through our chakra system, it's holding some space right here in our heart, and then we send it back out. So cyclical giving and returning and receiving of energy. Bringing it in, holding it in our hearts, and letting it go out into the world. So if we are willing to surrender to that, there's a certain amount of giving up that we have to do. Giving up our special desire to be mad or to hold a grudge or to forget to forgive. And we were having a conversation right before we started about some little tiny grudge I have, and I'm confessing to my people because I know that part of what we need to do is heighten our awareness around the areas where we have not yet moved into total forgiveness. We haven't really risen high enough to be able to look down at the battleground and say, oh, it's not going to affect me, right? That's why we call it spiritual practice, because we're just working on this. We're working on this. And so we have to at least know. We have to at least know that, okay, there's an area there where I have not yet done the completion of the work that I intend to do. So let's see what this says. So it says, I will step back and let him lead the way. There is a way of living in the world that is not here, although it seems to be. You do not change appearances, although you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet. And the ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own. Yet those who have not yet perceived the way will recognize you also and believe that you are like them as you were before. So basically, this is the idea that we are attracting to our lives like-minded, kindred spirits, mighty companions. The Course calls us mighty companions, right? That we're starting to notice that we can be in the world, go to work every day, do what we have to do, live our life, but in our consciousness is that willingness to live a spiritual life, to be a representation, even if it's just within ourselves and in our mind and the way we think, of the Course principles. And by Course principles, it could be any spiritual path that tells us and reminds us that we are here to be the voice for Spirit, the hands of Spirit, the action of Spirit. And so we continuously bring ourselves back to that remembering. You know, as you're walking through the hall, as your Tanzua was just telling the story of some people where she works who were very, very rude to her, right? And so you have this opportunity to say, okay, well, I'm going to talk back to them. I'll tell you this, that, and the other thing. Or just to be relaxed into your spirit and let that gap give you the time to remember that this is just a child of God who is crying for love, and they're doing it in a way that activates an annoyance in you. And if you can move through that and be okay with it, then you can sort of give yourself a little gold star for the day in your heart and know that, you know what, in the past, I may have said something back. I may have been triggered. I may have been upset. I may have gotten into some sort of verbal tango with them. But instead, I let it go, and I'm at peace as a result. That's what this is about. That's what this whole spiritual practice is about, is to try and get to that place where we are no longer victims of our reactivity and our emotions. The world is an illusion. Those who choose to come to it are seeking a place where they can be in the illusion and avoid their own reality. So let's go down to paragraph 4. If truth demanded we give up the world, it would appear to them as if it was asking that sacrifice of something that is real. Many have chosen to renounce the world while still believing in its reality, and they have suffered from a sense of loss and have not been released accordingly. Others have chosen nothing but the world, and they have suffered from a sense of loss still deeper, which they did not understand. So here, this lesson is a reminder of what the overall concept of the Course is and how it's different from so many other paths, because it's continuously telling us that this is an illusion, Maya, different religions, different faith paths call it different things. All the mystics' path recognize that this is not absolute reality. This is not. This is a playground of illusion, of decisions that we make on a daily basis on how to interact, and it's repetitive, and it's been going on since the beginning of time. War and rumors of war and adversarial gangs, all sorts of divisiveness. And we always have choices to make a decision to not be a part of that energy. But it's become so much a part of our lives since the beginning of time that it's hard for us to buy into this idea that it's not real, because it feels so real, right? Doesn't it feel so real when you hear about people being hurt, animals being hurt? Well, it's not that that's not happening. It's not. It's just that we cannot add to what makes that worse. Right? So if we're looking at it and we get angry and we start doing Facebook posts about how horrible people are, then we're just adding to the energy of how horrible people are, right? We're not adding to any kind of energy that might help us to change our consciousness, to shift the consciousness enough that maybe more consciousness start to shift. So when it says that we suffer, it's because we are in the grip. We are often in the grip of ideas that are hurtful to our own spirit. I was walking down the hall today. I'm walking down the hall and I'm looking in rooms. I work in a nursing home. There's a lot of people who are just laying in bed. They're just laying in bed. And I don't know who they were. I don't know who they were. I don't see them as young. I don't see them as vibrant. I just see them as people laying in bed. And sometimes I just go in and I talk to them and ask them about their life, because I want to re-image them. I want to see them for who they really are and how they probably continue to see themselves. And when I talk to them and they tell me their stories and they tell me about their lives, it gives me an opportunity to see them differently. And when I see them differently, I think about how if I can see someone differently in a moment of tenderness, because I don't want to see them as just what they call the head in the bed. It's kind of like a term that's used in hospitals and nursing homes sometimes. It's just somebody who's there, just laying there dying. And I think, well, why can't we just do that with everyone? Why can't I extend that tenderness to someone else who I'm looking at and I'm saying, well, that person is arrogant and rude and mean, and the person turned their head because they're unkind in some way, and I have all this judgment about who they are because I'm just seeing their outside behavior. If I could look past that with a tender heart and see who they really are, just like I'm trying to see these elderly people who are just laying in their beds. And it reminds me of the idea that regardless of what we think is real here, that can't be everything. Whatever it is we're going through any day, it can't be the whole true identity of our lives. It is just a uniform. It's just a temporary role that we're playing. Because you think, if you get to a place in life where you're just laying in a bed, watching TV, because you're elderly and this is the end of your life, then there must be a time when you wonder, well, how come all those other things seem so important to me? All those arguments I had, or all those expectations I had. So start getting into perspective, that no matter what we're doing, no matter our age, no matter our circumstances, no matter the uniform we wear, no matter the circumstances of our lives, that we can look beyond the veil of all of that to the light and the truth of what is really the connection to spirit that we're striving for. So I think that's what this is saying. I think that this is what this is all about. Stepping back and letting him lead the way. I will step back and let him lead the way. To what? To where? To the vision that I need to have in order to see past all the other stuff. All the other stuff that seems so irrelevant when you can be in a place of true connection with spirit. And then suddenly those little arguments, those little expectations, and all that other stuff that really seem to be getting at you no longer has as much value and relevance. Between our paths, there's another road that leads away from loss of every kind, for sacrifice and deprivation both are quickly left behind. This is the way appointed to you now. You walk this path as others walk, nor do you seem to be distant from them, although you are indeed. Interesting, the part about sacrifice and deprivation, because a lot of times people think, well, if I choose the spiritual path, if I choose to really focus on changing my thinking, shifting my heart, and being more focused on spirit, what do I have to give up? You know, some people think, I don't know, we had this conversation once with Belinda, right? Belinda, you're out there, we love you. And she was saying, well, aren't people going to think I'm boring now? You know, and the truth of the matter is, you know, maybe your friends who are no longer compatible with you might think you're boring, but you don't have to not enjoy your life. You still do all the things you've ever done and live the happy dream. The Course talks about something called the happy dream, where you're in this world, you're enjoying it, you're having a good time, you're living your life, but your true concentration in your consciousness is in the realization of who you really are and who everybody else really is. And so maybe you're going through all the steps you would normally do in the course of a day, and the thing that is different is when something comes along that would normally trip you up no longer trips you up, because you're focusing more on seeing past the illusion that this person is presenting to you, the mask that we all wear, the masks and the costumes. Do you have a comment or a question? No? We have a monitor here, so if you have a question or comment, feel free, and we'll see if we can get back to you. All right, let's see where we are. Illusion appears to cling to you that you may reach them, reach the illusions. Why? Why do we want to reach the illusions? Because it's a comfort zone. It's comfortable. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like dating the same person over and over again, right? Same person, different accent. It's just that you're in a pattern. You're in a habitual pattern. You haven't done the work that it takes to shift what it is within you that would draw someone else in. And that's the same thing with our spiritual path. You know, we find comfort in our special anger, our special stories, our upsets, and we say, you know what, I really want to work hard on this, and I really want to change, and I really want to be more patient, except, you know, there's that one person who really gets on my nerves, and I think that they deserve to be left out of my work because this, that, and the other thing, right? We start making these little special exclusions. And Course is telling us not to exclude anyone, not even politicians that we disagree with, not even people that we think have done horrendous and horrible things. It's not that we have to agree with them, it's not that we have to go along with anything that has to do with them, but we have to change our own consciousness and our own hearts so that we don't become bitter, angry, adversarial. We're trying to change ourselves. We're trying to change something within us that learns how to shift from the old way to a new way of being, from an old way of reactivity to a new way of kindness and compassionate responding. All roads will lead to this one in the end, for sacrifice and deprivation are paths that lead nowhere. Such is salvation's call and nothing more. It asks that you accept this truth and let it go before you, lighting up the path of ransom from illusion. Ransom from illusion. Paragraph 9. Walk safely now, yet carefully, because this path is new to you. And you may find that you are tempted still to walk ahead of truth and let illusions be your guide. Your holy brothers have been given you to follow in your footsteps as you walk with certainty of purpose and of truth. It goes before you now, that certainty, that they may see something with which they can identify, something they understand to lead the way. So, you know, it's interesting because as many years as I've been doing this, which is a lot, I mean 20 something years, 25, 26 years that I've been doing A Course in Miracles, and more actually now that I think about it. And it still, when I read these things about this being new, that this is a new path and a new way of seeing, I think, you know, it still is. It still is, because I can confess I have not perfected the way of being. And so I have to come back to these lessons every day. I have to come back to this reminder every day. You know, we are now, I just remembered, we are now tonight is a new moon, and we are in, Mercury's in retrograde, so if that means anything to any of you, I can let you know that a new moon is all about refreshing your consciousness, renewing your consciousness, having this opportunity. And tonight is a great opportunity because it's the new moon, and we're here together to remember who you are and remove, this is a lot of art-y words, and remove the part of you that is in doubt, of the amazing grandeur that you can achieve in consciousness simply by doing this work. Simply by, in the course of the day, reminding yourself, just making those little tweaks as the day goes along, that, oh, I can see peace instead of this. I can be kind instead of that which almost came out of my mouth. And really, even what's in my mind, you know, because that's where we have to do the work. We have this kingdom we must rule, and it's in our mind. It's the mind that says, you know what, this person is this, that, and the other thing, and you go into your upset in your head, and you start doing your judgments, and then you catch yourself. You catch yourself, and you say, you know what, I can remember that beyond all of that is a child of God, is a beloved brother of mine, beloved brother or sister of mine that I have got to thank for giving me this opportunity to remember who I am and to remember who they are. And if not, if you can't do it, if you just can't bring yourself to do it, at least you can know that you are willing to take this moment to change the way you think when you're thinking unkind thoughts about somebody else. That you say, okay, you know what, at least I'm willing. I would like to try. I would like to let this be my opportunity to shift my consciousness and let myself be more of a blessing in the world. You know, and there may be people who remember you when you were not your best. And they might want to remind you of who you used to be. And so it's for you to connect with Spirit and see through Spirit's eyes who you are. Randy Levine, my spiritual director, says to me all the time, when you're really upset with yourself and you're beating yourself up and you're talking poorly about yourself, go to God for a second opinion. Go to God for the opinion that is of who you really are, this beloved child that is seen through the light of love, the same light that we're asking you to see yourself and the light we're asking you to see others. And how do we do that? By stepping back and letting Him lead the way, and letting Spirit lead the way. How are we doing for time?
35.
Okay, we're good. So it says, such is salvation's call. It asks that you accept the truth and let it go before you, lighting up the paths of ransom from illusion. Walk safely now. So let's go to 10. At the journey's end, there will be no gap, no distance between truth and you, and all illusion walking in the way you travel will be gone from you as well, with nothing left to keep the truth apart from God's completion, holy as Himself. Step back in faith and let truth lead the way. You know not where you go, but one who knows you goes with you. Let Him lead you with the rest. When dreams are over, time has closed the door on all the things that pass, and miracles are purposeless. The Holy Son of God will make no journeys. So let me remind you here, from way back in the beginning, chapter 1, it tells us that miracles are gifts that we give to each other. Miracles are amongst the living, which is different from revelation. Revelation is between you and Spirit. So what it's saying is that once we get to a place where we really are sort of elevated in our spiritual consciousness, that we won't even need miracles, because miracles are for the physical plane. So that's why it's saying miracles are no more. because there will be a time when we will collapse linear time and no longer be so concerned with sort of like the everydayness of our body's condition and the lives that we lead. And sometimes, sometimes when I listen to like Ken Wapnick, who was one of the first teachers and editors of A Course in Miracles, it sounds so far-fetched to me. But then, as I said, when I'm walking through the halls and I'm looking at people's lives, I think, there really is so much, there has to be so much more than this. It can't be just this. We don't live our lives to just end up in a bed, looking at a television and staring out into space. In fact, this is what Ken Wapnick says about this particular lesson. He says, with this lesson, we continue the theme of being God's ministers and teachers. Indeed, in these lessons, Jesus teaches us that what it means to be living in a world as a teacher of God. And it says, meaning an advanced teacher. So that doesn't mean me standing before you. That means all of us. We're teachers just in terms of how we interact with the world. Right? We're teaching people who we are, how we see the world, not preaching and teaching, but just simply by example, just simply by who we are, how we are. Right? So if everybody's sitting around in the break room gossiping and you're not, it's not that you're high and mighty, you're just not drawn to it anymore. You just find that it's not pulling you in. It's not something that you see as enticing because you know that it's an act of unkindness. And so you find that you start changing the way from how you used to be. And that in and of itself is letting people know that you're not going to engage in that. Right? They might think you're a Pollyanna, they might think whatever, it's okay. You don't have to engage in it. Although that is my trick for getting my friend Rose to call me, I have to say. Because she loves gossip. Oh my gosh, she loves gossip. So I'll be called. I have this friend, 20-something years of friendship. I call her, hey, Rose, give me a call. I don't hear from her. Text her, Rose, give me a call. Nothing. So I'll leave a message. I say, Rose, I have chisme, as they say, gossip in Spanish. Oh, she calls me right away. Oh, what happened? Right? But it's not mean gossip. It's just a way for me to get her to call. It's a little trick. And she still falls for it. She still falls for it. So an advanced teacher of God is someone who's actually walking the talk, living the lessons. Living these lessons. We're trying. We're doing the best we can. So the first level is an advanced teacher. There's a basic teacher, an advanced teacher, and teachers of teachers. So this particular lesson is reminding us that we have made this. We're halfway through, right? We have made this commitment in the beginning of the year. We're now in June. We're halfway through. We're trying to rise above just the concepts. And the deconstruction of our ego is a constant daily battle. No, let's not call it a battle. It's just work. Right? It's just work. It's a consciousness. It's an awareness. It's a hypervigilance to pay attention to ourselves as we're going through the day and watching where our mind goes. And watching, I used to have these conversations in my head. Oh my God, thank God they've lowered themselves down to a quiet voice. But, I would have these conversations. Oh, I wish I would have said this and I could have said it that way. It's like, not necessary, God. Thank you for lowering that voice within me, because it's an awareness, a self-awareness. We start to become more self-aware of what we're doing with our mind, what we're doing with our voices, how we're interacting with people, even with the energy that we bring into a room. We start noticing ourselves more so that we can shift whatever needs to be shifted so that we can have a quiet, calm, peaceful presence. All right, let's shift over to paragraph 12. It says, we walk to God. Pause and reflect on this. Could any way be holier or more deserving of your effort, of your love, and of your full intent? What way could give you more than everything other than to be walking with God? I know I changed the words. The truth that walks before us now is one with Him and leads us to where He has always been. What way but this could be the path that you would choose?
Your feet are safely set upon the road that leads the world to God. Look not to ways that seem to lead you elsewhere. Dreams are not worthy guides for those who are God's sons and daughters. Forget not that he has placed his hand in yours and given you your brothers in his trust, that you are worthy of his trust in you. So yeah, remember that whoever comes into our life is a brother or a sister that was given to us. That was given to us so that we can then decide who we are going to be in that interaction. That anybody who comes into our life is no different than us in the fact that they want love, they want understanding, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be known. And just as we want those things, anyone that we interact with wants those things. So when we start getting to where we think we can be their judge or their judge or their jury, we can condemn them, we can come back to that remembering that we can see it differently, that we can see them differently, we can see ourselves differently, and then interact as such in that way with more of a willingness to let Spirit lead the way. Step back and let Spirit lead the way, because when Spirit leads the way, Spirit is going to tell us to be more kind, to be more caring, to have the voice of the cameos. If you read the CE edition, the voice in the cameos that talks to Helen and reminds her, that if you're going to be mad, you're going to be upset, then stop everything you're doing. Stop everything you're doing and change that. Shift that. Make that decision within yourself. Let's just take a deep breath on that. I will step back and let him lead the way. And when he leads the way, I have to surrender. I have to surrender my judgments. I have to surrender that part of me that wants to be in control of how someone else is acting or speaking to me. Instead, I can make a choice for myself and how I want to be and who I want to be. I will step back and let him lead the way, for I would walk the road to him. And then just one other one real quickly. I had a few of these other outside gems that I came across I'm going to share with you in a minute. But there's a little bit of something else on another lesson, 159, that I wanted to share with you. This was a good week. The week was really good. The lessons were really very powerful, I think very helpful, leading us into the second part of the book. Lesson 159 says, I give the miracles I have received. No one can give what he has not received. To give a thing requires first you have it in your own possession. Here the laws of heaven and the world agree. Finally, number 4, paragraph 4. Christ's vision is the miracle in which all miracles are born. It is their source remaining with each miracle you give, and yet remains yours. It is the bond by which the giver and receiver are united in extension here on earth as they are in heaven. Christ beholds no sin in anyone, and in his sight the sinless are as one. Their holiness was given by his Father and himself. In paragraph 5. Christ's vision is the holy ground in which the lilies of forgiveness set their roots. This is their home. They can be brought here back into the world, but they never grow in unnourishing, shallow soil, right? We have to continuously be nourishing that part of us that's willing to be forgiven. You know, the mantra we made up some time ago is forgive readily, love steadily, rise higher, pray harder. As we concentrate on being that level of consciousness, we plant in fertile soil the interactions that we have with people, the relationships that we have, even if it's a passing relationship of being in the grocery store, being on the road, whatever it is, that is a relationship, even if it's a brief moment, that Spirit has put into your path so you can see how you are, who you are, how you interact, whether it's a happy moment or something that would normally make you unhappy. It's all opportunity to be a blessing. At the end of the day, no matter what has happened, we can say, I'm thankful that I had these opportunities so that I can see myself more clearly. So I can see how I showed up, who I was in that moment, who I was in that interaction. Christ vision. This is what we're looking for. Christ vision. Christ vision is the vision that allows us to see beyond our ego, our physical eyes. I have no idea what's happening.
Praise the speaking.
That's just our regular Thursday thing. What do we say?
That probably just pressed on the,
Oh, you think so?
yeah,
All right. We can't blame it on Ernesto tonight. Here's some things I came across this week. There's several Course in Miracles Facebook pages that I follow, and these are some posts that I found. This one said, "It's not what anyone says to you that matters, but what you say to yourself when they stop talking." Right? That's a good one because it reminds you to be aware of where your mind goes as you're interacting with people. The other one says, I like this one, "Me yelling at birds in the street to move so that they don't get killed is probably the same thing that God is thinking as he's watching me live my life." "A mistake that makes you humble is better than an achievement that makes you arrogant." So as we do these lessons, as we do this work, it always comes down to like real basic stuff, right? The Course is, it seems like so much. I mean, it seems like so dense and so full of all this other stuff. But it really comes down to whether or not we have the willingness to pay attention to our mind, where it goes, how it goes, what it's doing, and can we shift? Can we catch ourselves and shift? Can we catch ourselves in the middle of a judgment, in the middle of fear even, and try to shift and try to surrender and step back and let Spirit lead the way? We are among the ministers of God. We are among the teachers of God. In fact, everyone is. Everyone is. Not about ordination into sacred service, which is a whole different thing. It's about how we live our lives, how we choose to live our lives on a daily basis with anyone. And we have the capacity to be the ones who rise higher, pray harder, love steadily, and forgive readily. And so with that, I want to show you a video, if I can figure out how to get back to it, since apparently something has occurred here. But instead of an end song tonight, I wanted to show you a video that we've looked at before, but I think it truly demonstrates what A Course in Miracles is all about and what this particular lesson is all about. And it's the murmuration of the starlings. And we've seen this before, and it's very beautiful. And it's about how these birds just take turns in uniform, gliding through the air, and take turns taking the leadership role. But what they're doing is they're protecting each other. They're protecting each other from birds of prey who actually prey on smaller birds. And when I see this video, and I wanted to share it with you guys tonight, when I see this video, it reminds me very much of this lesson, that I will step back and let him lead the way. What is the way of surrender? It's the way of being willing to understand that you have a partnership and you're not in control of that partnership, because the most time we try to control it is when we suffer. So let's all take a nice deep breath, have a few moments of silence while I try to figure out what has happened here. We're off YouTube. YouTube. Every week we have these opportunities to play with technology. Someday we're going to have our own staff. We're going to have a whole staff running this place so that we don't have to do this. Hang on. Don't go anywhere. Stay with me. It'll be worth it. I promise you. So I will step back and let him lead the way. Just like these starlings work together. Enjoy this. I know sometimes it's hard to see, but if you have my daily text, if you're part of the daily text group, I'll send it to you. And I'll post it on the page. everybody saw that, could see that, but I'll post it on the page. And also there's people who get a daily text from me on WhatsApp where I send daily messages as well as whatever music I shared. So if you're not on my WhatsApp group and you'd like to be, just let me know and I'll be glad to add you to it. So thank you for being here this evening. I think this video really exemplifies who we could really be if we were truly united and allowed ourselves to live in such unity and such flow with one another. I mean, imagine that every single one of those birds represents one of us. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of them, living in unity, living in complete, uniform movement and flow through life. I don't think anybody was arguing with them. Thank you for being here. I will be posting this on the page. I'll also be posting an opportunity for you to have a financial expression of appreciation. And let's end with this. From this day forth, your ministry takes on a genuine devotion and a glow that travels from your fingertips to those you touch and bless those you look upon. A vision reaches everyone you meet and everyone you think of or who thinks of you. For your experience today will transform your mind so that it becomes a touchstone for the holy thoughts of God. Your mind is a holy touchstone for the holy thoughts of God. Wow. Amen to that. Amen to that. God bless you. Thank you for being here. See you next week.